Write that down. I assume I'll be able to remember it. Hey everybody, this is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to Poetry Spawn Live for February 7th, 2021. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We hope you enjoy poetry as much as we do. We know you do because you're here watching it. So please do click the like button and share and make sure you're enjoying this in all the ways that a good tech person can appreciate. So as always, Poetry Spawn is a open mic for poems about current events. And today we published a poem on Rattle.com about Navalny. And we have the poet here to start, Leah Akori. And let's bring her in right now and talk to Leah about this poem, which I just loved. So, oops, I got to fix your camera size. Hang on one second. It's too big. It used to... Okay, here we go. Forgot to check that one. So, hi, Leah. How you doing today?
Hi, how's it going?
I'm great. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us today and for writing this really wonderful poem. I found it very moving. I always, just people standing up to power is something that always just sort of personally moves me. And I just thought it was a beautiful depiction of what happened this week with Navalny in Russia being sentenced. Do you want to talk just a little bit about the background of what the situation is with Navalny and Putin and
Yeah, I think I agree. I think standing up to power is a beautiful moment and a heartbreaking moment, and that's how I've been feeling all week, and that's what inspired this work. Navalny's been trying to stand up to the dictatorship that is existing in Russia today for months, and he barely survived the poisoning attempt against him. And 5 months after being poisoned, he came back to Russia for the first time, and pretty much the second he landed, he was arrested by some bogus charge, spent a month in prison, and now has been convicted on even more bogus charges for almost 3 years in prison. This has all been against the backdrop of very courageous protests all over the country, with thousands and thousands of people being arrested because protesting is actually against the law in Russia at the time.
Mm-hmm. And can you just explain, just for people who might not know, who Navalny is and what he means to the Russian people, I guess.
Right.
And his personality, too, which you mentioned in the poem, is part of it, I think.
I think so, too, right? He is a leader of the political opposition and has been trying hard to run against Putin in numerous elections, as well as trying to influence and rally people and unite people in numerous local elections to, again, break the monopoly that exists in all levels of power, whether that's federal or town or regional. He's a very stoic and darkly funny guy, which I think is a very Russian thing. I think his sense of humor and his cleverness appeals to a number of people. Definitely speaks to me, and I think it's even spoken to in a number of his speeches. It's been published even in English language media as well. Mm-hmm. I think his humor really comes through.
Yeah. Is there what do you think that is there any hope that he doesn't have to serve? I think it's a 2 or is it 3 year prison sentence where he's going to be sort of sent to the gulags, basically, right, to a prison like a labor camp. Is there any is there any chance of him getting out?
He's being sent to some kind of faraway prison. I think there's always hope. I think it's hard to make a calculation of how likely is he to come out of the situation. I think it's hard to say how likely is the political regime to topple. And I mean, stranger things have happened. Mm-hmm. Definitely in Russia as well.
Yeah. And I don't know, what's the mood? I mean, I don't know how many, you're in the United States now, and I think you said you've been here for about 20 years or so, right?
Right.
But what is the sort of sentiment amongst the public? The majority of people, do you think, support Navalny, or because I know a lot of people do support Putin too? Is it
Right.
like
So Russia
what's
is
the mood about
politically
it?
a very divided country,
Mm-hmm.
very similar to the U.S. I think there's similar to the U.S. It's very hard to engage politically opposing sides, and there's a lot of very unproductive and very angry debates all over social media in Russia, just as they are in the U.S. Here, there's a number of people who support Putin who are much more comfortable than they were 20 years ago and 30 years ago, and have good reason to say this is good enough for us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sizable number of people who support Navalny. I think by no means are they in the majority, but I think they're definitely a sizable and growing group. And
Mm-hmm.
among them are the younger people. And so that's one of the
Yeah.
things we're seeing is definitely cross-generational response and an overwhelming response by Russia's Gen Z and millennials.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I don't understand, I've always kind of wondered about the people who do support Putin in Russia, like what do
Mm-hmm.
they imagine is going to happen when Putin like dies? You know, there's sort of I think the argument for Putin is that he's like a stability figure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're only helping the country to be stable until you're dead, and then there's a power vacuum and it explodes,
Mm-hmm.
then what is the point? So what's the the counter argument to that problem?
Right. I mean, I would argue that given the history of instability in Russia, like stability thus far, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's stability for 5 more years or 10 more years, is probably the best thing people can
Mm-hmm.
hope for. Again, given the tumult of the 90s and beyond. He's also, I should say, he's the head of a party, right? And so if he dies tomorrow, the party's going to probably select some other leader. There might be already grooming a number of people to step in as
Mm-hmm.
he nears retirement. So I think there could be changes if he steps down. I think there could be some tumult if he steps down. And he's not a sole actor. He's definitely a head of a very powerful political entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, just thanks so much for joining and just sharing this a little bit, because we, in Poetry Respond, we tend to be like U.S. focused, because most of the writers are in the U.S. We're usually talking about U.S. news, so it's just great to have anytime we can have more international poems that because it's a much bigger world than just the States, and so I really appreciate your insight in this really beautiful poem. Do you want to go ahead and read it? I'll put it on screen for everybody at home.
Sounds good. I'd love to.
Okay.
Navalny. He said, "Come outside." We did. The snow was ankle deep and fine as flour. Come out. It made a most satisfying sound underfoot. Come. The frigid wind was sharp on the small square of skin around the eyes, between the fur hat and the face mask. We marched, calling for his freedom, arrested by the thousands. He said, "Don't be afraid." He said, "The man hides in his bunker. He's no scarier than this frost." He said, "Our people know how to dress for winter." He said, "Come out, friends." He said, "Your Honor, please don't interrupt. Instead, look at the man within these robes and be ashamed. Look at the circus of a courtroom. Look at me laughing so that I don't cry." He said, "Will no one meet my eyes?" He stood, his smile defiant, and with his piercing gaze traced every face inside that room, and found his wife's, and struggled not to weep.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. And again, that was
You're welcome.
Navalny by Leah Akuri. And Leah, you mentioned before we were on air, I think, that you wanted to make clear that you're not in danger for writing this poem being in
Right.
the States. Do you have family back there that you worry about, or is your whole family here?
I do have a number of family members in Russia. They're all, well, I worry about them in the coronavirus sake, but they're all
Mm-hmm.
safe for them protest because none of them are out.
Yeah.
Because right, like everyone has to make choice of what they're willing to risk. Yeah, I did want to clarify that it is by no means heroic for me to write this poem because it's very safe to criticize Putin, to criticize honestly anyone from the U.S. And I
Yeah.
think writing this kind of stuff in Russia will be a whole different beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for sharing this, and it's just a beautiful poem. I just love the way you described that scene, and it really, really, really memorable. So thanks so much for sharing
Thank you so
that.
much.
Yep. Bye. Yeah, so that was Leah Akari with Navalny, today's poem on Poets Respond. And now we're going to preview the poem from Tuesday. which is going to be coming up. This is another different turn. I try to find as much variety as I can in publishing poems on Poetry Spawn. And here's some light verse that'll be coming up on Tuesday. And I'm going to call up now, if I can find her, Melissa Balmain. So the phone's ringing for Melissa. Hey, Melissa, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello.
And I'm trying to figure out how to see you and also keep my Skype window up. Wait a sec. There we go.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello. We don't have you on video. I don't know if you want to click your camera button to show.
Sorry. Yes, I do.
There you are. Hello. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? I think you might have muted yourself, maybe?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
I think you might have muted yourself when you brought the video in.
Oh.
I can't hear. I'm going to hang up and try again. Well, maybe we'll fix this. Let's try this again. We'll try. Hi, let's see if this works this time. Can you still hear me? Melissa, are you there?
I am here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We just
can't. Can you see me? Can you see me also?
We can see you and hear you. And you can hear me still too.
I can. I'm so sorry for the tech glitch.
Oh, no problem at all. But thanks so much for joining us today. And from Rochester, New York, you live like a block away from where I used to live by Cobb's Hill there. And like I recognize the street name. I used to jog right by your house. I don't know if you lived there then. That was like 16, 17 years ago. But
no, we've been here about a decade.
But yeah. Well, it's just I really like the city. I don't know. Other people have different opinions, I guess maybe, but I like it a lot.
We love it, yeah.
So your poem that we're going to be publishing on Tuesday is light verse, and of course you're the editor of Light Quarterly. And so it's just so wonderful to get a variety of poems and to get humor and verse, which are the two things that I always, for my entire time as editor here, have been saying that we wish we had more of, because poetry tends to be so heavy. But before you share this, do you want to talk a little bit about why you're drawn to light verse?
Why am I drawn to light verse? Well, in the immortal words of Dorothy Parker, it leavens the lump. Humor, we need it in our lives. And it will not surprise you, I don't think, that we've been hearing more and more from readers of Light, the journal that I edit, just saying, thank you. We need this right now. It's as much for my mental health, I think, as it is for the readers. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
And how long have you sort of felt that way, like focusing on this style?
It's just the way I'm made. Sometimes poems that I write do turn out with a more serious cast to them, but mainly this is how I roll. Yeah. I can't help it. Yeah.
well, let's talk about this poem that's coming up on Tuesday. This the title is a quote from an article. Spinach can send emails now, and Twitter is in disbelief, and of course, belief is LEAF in the title. So when did you see this? And it's sort of one of those poems that it's a headline that has to be a poem, maybe.
It was everywhere on Twitter, obviously, and other social media, and it was in the back of my mind when I first started hearing these stories, and I needed a way in, and it turned out that the way in was to be spinach. So, yeah. And that is, you can see I'm wearing green today.
Oh, perfect!
In honor of the spinach, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and read it for everybody? I'll put it on screen so they can see it too. But okay, go ahead.
Spinach can send emails now, and Twitter is in disbelief. And that's from today.com. Why so surprised, folks, that I'm sending mail? I'm spinach, not some turnip. I'm a super. While you're obsessing over wombat poop or Bernie memes, I focus without fail on deeper stuff. I burrow down, alert to hidden poison. I'm the real Green Party. No activist, not even a big smarty, is more equipped to dish the eco-dirt. It's nice I've reached some scientific ears, but give me yours as well, the Twitter spheres. At last, my grassroots network must be heard. And after I receive your due attention, and you cut back your silly condescension, the kale and Brussels sprouts would like a word.
Excellent. Of course, that was a sonnet. Spinach can send emails now, and Twitter is in disbelief. Thanks so much for sharing that. It's just such a nice break. I just love light verse. So I'm glad we can have it just to mix everything up and keep people on their toes. What I like to do here. So thanks so much, Melissa. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Goodbye. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Yes, it was Melissa Balmain with her poem. It's going to be appearing on Rattle Tuesday. And now, of course, the rest of the show is an open mic, and your poems and submissions are encouraged. So how to do it. First, if you submitted it to Rattle through Submittable already, then I can just pull it up on screen that way. If you haven't, email it to openmic@rattle.com. That's openmic@rattle.com first. And then what you do is you send me a chat message on Skype to Rattle Poetry, all one word. If you'd like to appear on video, that's great. Yeah. Hang on a second. Yeah. So do that. Send me a chat message. I will reply to your wave and call you back when the time is right. The other option is to call in by phone, 818-850-7727. That's 818-850-7727. Let it ring a few times, then hang up. And likewise, I'll call you back within the hour if we can get to everybody. Hopefully we can. But don't forget to send me your poems so we can show it on screen too. That's always a lot of fun. And if you're here and for some reason can't read, but you would like me to share a poem, you can email it right now too to openmic@rattle.com, and I could just read a poem for you too if you have technical issues or something going on that you can't read it yourself. So let's go in the order that the requests were received. And first in line is Nivedita Karthik. Let's call up Nivi. See what she has for us today.
Hello.
Hello, Nivi. How are you doing today? I'm doing great. Let me adjust everything all the time. I missed my old days. There was some setting changed. There was an update, and now I have to refigure out the setting that made it so these videos stuck in the same size. But anyway, so what do you have for us today, Nivi?
It's another fun poem as usual, but this time a little twist. I'll read the poem first, and then you can go to the news article and just show the picture. There's a picture that goes with it that I think sums up the entire news story.
Excellent. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so go ahead and read it. This is Game Abandoned. I have the right one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes,
let's
that's
go.
the one.
Okay.
Game abandoned. And in bizarre news today, we have football. A sudden stop to the play. An invader on the pitch, dressed in shiny black from top to toe, blocked from reaching its goal. Play resumes. A sudden stop to the play yet again. An invader on the pitch, dressed in shiny black from top to toe. Him again? Thwarted from the goal, play resumes. The story repeats 2 more times. 2 times too many. Under the warming spring sun in Serbia, this relentless rascal's antics roused the referee, who, in true football fashion, sent him away with a red card off the field to sit and just watch the game. No more chasing the ball when not your turn. The invader thought he had been booked, not sent off, and promptly came back for more with a woof woof and a wagging of the tail. Game abandoned.
It's another cute poem. So let's find the article. I'll put that up for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. This is from Sport Bible. Dog sent off for invading pitch 4 times in Serbian football game. So here, and here's this little puppy
Mm-hmm.
who
This little black cute puppy
yeah.
who just kept running on the pitch. I know.
Your favorite story of the day: a dog was sent off for invading the pitch during a game in Serbia. Oh, there's some video too. Let's see if this plays right away.
I don't think that's related to this.
Oh no.
That's about another dog it's called Ronald Dog, which is also really fun, by the way. It actually dribbles and everything. It's brilliant to watch. There's, I think, a YouTube video about that dog. It's probably 2 or 3 years old, but then that dog, I mean, like, if dogs could play football, I'm pretty sure this dog would be like the king of the football field. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, me and my German Shepherd play football a little bit. Like he wants me to. He gets a ball and wants me to try to tackle him. And they are tough. They're squirmy and quick. Those dogs.
Playfully tough. I think that's the word. If the German Shepherd is a pet dog, it's playfully tough.
For sure.
That's one of my favorite breeds of dog, by the way. My neighbor has one, and I'm constantly in the balcony, forever looking at that thing. Forever.
Well, we enjoy ours.
Shepherds.
We've had them for 2 years now, about. So we love them. Anyway, thanks so much, Nivi, for sharing that poem. Always a pleasure. So two lighter, happier poems in a row. Thanks, Nivi.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. Have a nice Sunday.
Yep. Have a nice night. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. There's Nivi DeKarthik, of course, with Game Abandoned. Let's see what else we have here. We have next in line was, let's call up T.R. Paulson. And T.R. has a poem we published for the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Let me try to find it as the phone's ringing. Let's see. Super Bowl party. This was from 2018, so 3 years ago. Well, let's see. Well, T.R. Paulson's not picking up. And actually, I just remember we just read this a couple weeks ago, actually, because it was when Alex Trebek died. So maybe we won't do that poem again. You can click back like maybe 4 episodes, and we did Super Bowl party because it's about trivia too. And Jeopardy. Okay, let's go to Angela Gardner. And Angela has the Tinderbox Mountain Hotel. Hey, Angela, how you doing today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. What do you have for us?
Well, I actually wrote a poem about actually it's funny because you had that prompt on Tuesday, and one of my favorite places is Etsy Park by in Colorado, and it's like the entrance, but also this Stanley Hotel is there, and I'm like a major Stephen King fan. So the last time we were in Colorado, we actually I was able to go to the Stanley.
Oh, wow.
And and there is actually a hedge maze there, and I was like the crazy person running down the hallways trying to find room 217, which I couldn't find. But it's funny because actually the East Troublesome fire that was happening in last year in October, firefighters actually stayed at the Stanley, and there's this thing where they're worried. I don't live in a wildfire country like you do. Like you had all these issues last year and probably years before
Every single
that.
year,
Yeah. But for us, like I live in, Ohio. We don't have like that kind of stuff. So it's just, there's a big worry about if there's going to be more blow-ups and there's going to be more wildfires, and they can't really predict them either and how it goes. So that's kind of, I saw this article, and then I started researching again about, because it was so close. We're actually going to be on vacation in Colorado again, and I was hoping to stay at the Stanley, and I was just kind of thinking about, being back, there, and it's such a good, it's such a great area, and it would just be so sad if something happened. And the hotel's a wooden hotel. I mean, that's why. What I called it, like the tinderbox. I mean, it's if something happens and the fire gets close, like it did last time, I mean, historic things get destroyed by these fires. So
yeah. Just in case anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, that's the hotel from The Shining. And do you know, is there did Stephen King like go there and inspire the book? Is that how it worked, or did that come first, or did he?
Yeah, because the Overlook is the hotel in the book,
Mhm.
but this Stanley Hotel is where he was inspired. Him and his wife Tabitha went there, and it was kind of like he got inspired because it was, well, he was there, and like basically the hotel was kind of shut down and there was nobody there, and so he kind of got inspired. Like this writer came there in the middle of winter, that kind of thing, and I kind of took some liberties with my poem because he, from what I've read, and he said that he had a dream about, his child being chased with a fire hose. So it's kind of like, he was inspired to write The Shining, but the Stanley, and when you go to the Stanley, they have all the Shining stuff. But if the movie The Shining was not filmed at the Stanley, it was just, Stephen King, was inspired by the hotel, because a lot of the things he describes in the book, like if you go to the hotel, you see that, like the lions and just like all, and the maze, and like there's things that are there that you're like, if you go to the Stanley, you realize, and I mean the Stanley is supposed to be also haunted as well, so there's a lot of there's a lot of things.
Yeah, I'd like to go there. I didn't realize I guess I didn't realize that you could, or that'd be a cool place to go on a vacation and stay. Like we stayed at the Queen Mary, which is supposed to be haunted too, and it's kind of fun in the same way as that would be, I bet. But this so much more vividly because of the book and the movie. Yeah, that would be a cool place to stay. Well, why don't you go ahead and read this? This is the Tinderbox Mountain Hotel.
Okay. The lion outside stands still despite the combustible atmosphere. Its roar might be mistaken for the haunted creaks of the elevator's accordion door. Cinders are sleeping underneath the 100-year-old wooden hotel. A waking dream of being chased by a fire hose in the red carpeted hallway. Ghosts in the hedge maze are forgotten as those survey the charred remains of the burnable landscape. Trees are charcoal, antlers stick out of the earth, remnants of the forest is scorched. Searing heat breezes by the tinderbox. I wipe off the soot on my face in a basin where a match can't be lit. As a city girl, the only smoke in my neighborhood are backyard pits or the power plant stacks. I'm here, during my vacation, stepping into a fire's path to be near a famous writer's pen and imagination.
Excellent. So much. Thanks so much for sharing that. And it really makes me want to go, thinking about how it might not even last, It's, yeah.
Yeah, below the poem, I did have the pictures that.
Yeah, I was showing them on screen as you were talking before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So everybody got to see them. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that, Angela. Always a pleasure, and love that.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Yeah. You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
It's Angela Gardner with the Tinderbox Mountain Hotel, and let's see. So Zach Hayopatubi is next, I think. Well, I think we'll do Victoria Garton. I'm looking through for new names. So those are two new ones. We'll go to next after we do, just so you're prepared, Zach and Victoria. I'll be calling you in just a second. After the next caller, let's do Paul Ruth, who's next in line. See what Paul has for us.
Hello.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So what do you have for us today?
So I have a poem, which is also lighter, especially for me. I tend to write a lot of heavier political stuff for this broadcast. But
yeah, I've kind of noticed that just in the submissions that I think people are sort of breathing a sigh of a turning point or something, and letting themselves take a breath or something. And there's a little more variety the last couple of weeks, which is always nice. And the Poets Respond submissions.
Yep. So the poem I have is, and when I saw this headline, it made me laugh because I live in the Detroit area. Mm-hmm. And all the thinking about it, but the poem is entitled "Pizza Hut Releases Detroit-Style Pizza," and if you've ever been from Detroit or around this area, the kind of pizza that they're talking about. and it just seemed kind of odd.
So, actually, I don't even know what Detroit style pizza is. What is it?
So what it is, it's really from like Sicilian traditions,
Hmm.
and they call it square, but it's always rectangular. And it's deep dish, and it has the hard corners to it, and a crispy crust and stuff, and it's about, I don't know, about so thick,
Hmm.
and usually there's a variety of ways of making it, but usually they add the sauce on last because it's thicker
Oh.
bread, and so it
Hmm.
takes longer to bake and that type of thing. So they sometimes add that stuff on, afterwards. But it depends. But there's this whole long tradition about how it started at Buddy's Pizza in the city. And I mentioned one of the originators of it, who, the family splits and they create these other chains. And there's a place up on Gratiot in East Point, the city where I teach, which has Cloverleaf Pizza as one of these legendary spots and historical things. So it's kind of like this deep kind of tradition since about, I don't know, about 1930s,
Hmm.
1940s in Detroit. And all I've ever heard about was obviously New York style pizza. You've heard of Chicago style pizza. I hear about LA and their diverse pizza scene and all this other stuff going on.
Hmm.
And then Pizza Hut, originally from or still is from Kansas, and they picked up on this Detroit style pizza when Detroit has this massive pizza love that rarely gets recognized. We
Interesting.
eat more pizza than other places, and I list a few chains. We have a number of national chains that originate from the Metro Detroit area.
Hmm.
Oh, my dog just walked in. Okay.
Yeah, well, I never knew. We'll have to try that. We have a pizza night. Maybe every other week we make homemade dough, and then we've done Chicago and we try different styles. We'll have to try a Detroit style. Look up a
Yeah,
recipe for that.
it's always a nice treat in this area.
Well, go ahead and whenever you're ready, let's hear the poem.
Okay. Pizza Hut releases Detroit style pizza. Pizza what? Pizza Hut. As Homer Simpson comically once said, "Oh, yes, Detroit style. Very nice." And who would have thought something happens between New York, Chicago, or LA? But before Detroit was a motor city, it was a stove city. Before that, a fort, an outpost, a gathering place way before Western ideas would ever be thought here, and to pizza, always a frontier. Not to mention Little Caesars, Hungry Howie's, Domino's, Jets, Shields, Buddies. Ask old Gus Guerrera where it all began. It was the Detroit pizza delivery guy who invented the modern Kevlar vest. Yet it took Kansas, though, to put it on the map. After Pizza Hut announced, people asked, "Where's Detroit at?"
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. The thing that I've always loved about Poetry Spawn reading submissions, I get to learn about so much and hear different perspectives and things like that. And so glad we could share it with more people on Poetry Spawn Live. Thanks so much, Paul, for sharing
Definitely.
that.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah, a little slice of Detroit history. No pun intended. Let us see. Let me see if I can open this. I'm not sure how I can get this. Let's see. Copy. Let me see. So Victoria Garten has maybe if I put it over here, has a Haiga, she said, I think. Let me see if I can get this picture on screen. Hey, Victoria, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, I can.
Thanks so much. If you want to join on video, I can't see you yet, though, but you don't have to.
Okay.
It's the camera button if you'd like to, though.
I'm not quite sure.
It's
let
right
me
next to the
look.
hang up is a camera icon.
Okay.
Here we come.
All right.
Hello. So good to see you. So
Hi.
So where are you calling from? First of all, I think you haven't called in before, I don't think. So
No, I read a couple of weeks ago, but I
did you?
didn't have the video.
Okay. Yeah, so where are you calling from?
I'm calling Southwest Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And I am actually reading a poem called Early February Nor'easter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tanka, a 5-line poem based on syllable count.
Okay, well, let me
And
see. I'm trying
I,
to get the. There you go. This picture that you included with it is up on screen for everybody. This is your backyard, I assume, right?
no, it's my son's backyard. He
Ah.
lives near Boston,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the storm, the nor'easter, occurred.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, well, why don't you go ahead and read it? It's a short one, so we'll just listen and admire this photograph. That's a lot of snow.
Yes, it is a lot of snow. Early February nor'easter, a tanka. The storm's fury spent. The bird bath now a snow cone. A globe stopped mid-spin. Silent songs of furloughed birds flown elsewhere to sip and flip.
Excellent. I love that, and I love looking at the photo while we hear that. Thanks so much for sharing that and calling in.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Goodbye. Yeah, that was Victoria Garton with that Tonka and cool photo. That's I don't know. It's got to be a foot and a half of snow. Let's see. The other new caller was. Okay. Let's see. Let's call up. Let me. This is Zach. Hoyopatabi, and I'm gonna have to. Actually, Zach, did you? Let's see. Let me see if I can find it somewhere else, because Zach included it in the text in the chat message. I'm trying to find it so I can show it on screen for everybody. Let me see. And not here. Okay. I will. I guess what I'll do is put in this Word document. There's a few. There might be a little extra characters in here. We'll see if it all pastes right. Okay, so let's call up Zach right now and let him read this poem. This was a poem from last month, but that's fine. Endless Ether. Hey, Zach, welcome to Poetry Spawn Live. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. Let me get the video on here.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. And what do you have for us today? Let me get this size right.
Yeah, I know that. I think Skype tends to cut off the messages if they're a bit longer.
Yeah, I got it into a Word doc so we can hear. I lost you, though, video, but that's okay. Either way.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the poem here.
I see.
Yeah, I guess a little bit of background on it. Yeah, like I kind of alluded to earlier, I wrote it kind of like back in mid-December. It's kind of like this end of the year kind of reflection piece, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the background on this piece.
Okay, cool. Endless Ether. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and read it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
All right. Endless ether. Staring out through dusty slats to what lies beyond. Leaves, pine needles, sunshine-inspired feelings, but no inspiration felt. Oh, what a surprise that the end of this year shall only give birth to more listless notions. Over and over, just running through the motions, trapped in the deep end with my deeper emotions, raw and dusty like everything else in this God-forsaken town. I want to be held in those arms, in your arms. Oh, to feel the heat from another's body, to feel that feeling of consumption when you're completely devoured by a pair of alluring eyes. And it's this set of goddamn dreams, the ones that somehow always manage to keep me going, despite the uninspired, all of those days spent feeling tired, thoughts worn down again to the wire. How many times must I beat them over and over again, each night the same repetitive sin, waking up and then cause for concern? Are those the alarms I hear sounding? Are those the heavy drums pounding, spelling out my own demise? Again, I make the decision, ignore. And I know your feeble mind allows you that salty pleasure, and you dive back in more. But really, it's just that empty, that chasm cutting deep through the center of your core, wondering only one thing when your heart is beating out of control. All this repeating, bleeding, pleading with your own desires. You only want to barter, strike a one-time deal. Please, oh please, just let me feel something deeper, a kind of love with depth, with meaning. My feet, they only tire, begging only to feel a little bit of the long-forgotten fire. alas, I give in to the numbness of this life, this endless cycle of sweet-smelling ether.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that. That definitely captures the sort of emotional mood of last year, and maybe looking forward to hoping that changes at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Zach, for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tim. Appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure. Bye.
Bye.
And that was Zach Hoya Patabi with Endless Ether. Let me see. Who is next? We have Jennifer Gauthier and Paulette Pashabin. Those might be the last two for today. So if anybody else, let me remind everybody, if you'd like to call, we got a little bit more time for a couple extra people. So if you would like to call, the number is 818-850-7727. Let it ring a couple times and just hang up. It'll show on my screen and I'll call you back. Or send me a chat message over Skype to Rattle Poetry, all one word. But before you do any of that, make sure you email it to openmic@rattle.com. We also have a poem by Carlton Johnson. So we have 3 poems left. That might fill up the time, but we might be able to squeeze in another. So if you'd like to call in and are watching and thinking about sharing a poem but have cold feet, don't. Just feel free to share it. We'll have time for at least one extra. But let's do. I'll do Carlton Johnson. We have Jennifer Gauthier, and we have Paulette Pashabin. Let's call up Paulette. Paulette was next in line. Let's call up Paulette. Try to find Paulette's poem.
Hello.
Hey, Paulette. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Tim?
I'm doing great. And what do you have for us?
I've got the poem called They Say Words Matter.
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
I sent it in and hope you have it.
I'm looking. Let's see, Paulette. Did you send it in through Submittable?
Yes.
They Say Words Matter. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I got it. I found it. So what was I remember this. I remember this one. I think I hear myself in the background. You might want to mute that.
Yep, I just did that.
Okay, good. It was very faint, but it confuses you sometimes if you don't.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So why don't you introduce this poem? Tell us what it's about. I remember thinking about this poem a lot, actually. It was interesting.
Thank you. It was really kind of a cacophony of news items that all kind of hit around the same time. And I think it's kind of interesting that it's kind of Russian based as well from your first reader, and she was so wonderful. Mm-hmm. It was just great. So it's interesting. First, I read in the Times of Israel an article that it was highlighting a new book coming out called American Compromat, and it basically says a book written by an ex-KGB person that the KGB had been grooming Trump for decades, and in fact, all of the Russian oligarchs involved in all that kind of grooming that goes along. So that kind of started it off. And then I read in Political an article that said that Pope Benedict, I think it's the 16th, who had been ousted as Pope, contended always from his exile post on a very lavish island someplace, that he contended that he was the Pope forever, and he would not concede ever. Lots of quotes attributed to him in I think it was the 1600s, that sounded just like Trump speaking now.
Oh,
at the same time that I read that, exact same time, Kevin McCarthy was on his way to Mar-a-Lago, and he had previously acknowledged that Trump was responsible or had some responsibility for the insurrection, and then he went to Mar-a-Lago in order to kiss the ring, which was not unlike some of the people that had paid attention to the Pope's oust. And then we had, the Congresswoman with her flip-flopping craziness. And so all of that kind of came together. And so the name of the poem is They Say Words Matter. So I'll just go into it and, get the Russian connection, I think. They say words matter. I forgot the word glasnost, how smooth it felt in our mouths like ice cream melting. An old movie reminded me how close I stood to Gorbachev in the lobby of the Peabody Hotel, security guards and celebrity ducks parading round the fountain. Such promise, then, on both sides of the curtain, such hope and dignity. My Russian grandfather left his country for ours long before the many wars. I recall his warning words, "All governments are corrupt." "Surely not ours," I said. "Surely we are better angels." Away from the White House, unrestrained, the former president knows all the secret words, stirs the cauldron, toil and trouble, incites the crazies fed on gory fantasy, fatalistic fabrications. It's the new alchemy, a kind of richcraft, glass-noused for the oligarchs. United they stand, in chaos we fall.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that. I love that first stanza especially. I forgot the word glassnose, how smooth it felt in our mouths, like ice cream melting. Yeah. And that word, it's been a long time since I heard that word, actually.
Yeah.
Interesting nexus of stories coming together. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye.
See you all. Bye.
Yeah, that was Paulette Pashabin. Let's see. Let's do this. Leah has another poem about the Russian protests with an image to accompany it. Let's call Leah back. She's still watching. And that'd be kind of fun. I have to figure out, let's see. I have to find where the chat, there it is. Hey, Leah.
Hi again.
Yeah, good to see you again. So you wanted to explain what you were thinking about sharing, because
so it seems like we're all on this Eastern European political theme today. So apropos the theme, I wanted to close with a poem about the protest in Belarus. So about 6 months ago, Belarus held yet another fraudulent election, ousting what we believe is the true winner of the election by Lukashenko, the existing dictator, which sparked a whole series of protests that were led very powerfully by women of a number of ages and backgrounds. And there was a lot of really powerful photography coming out of that time, featuring the women linking their arms and putting themselves on the front lines.
Yeah, I have this on screen here. Really, so this is from August 11th, 2020, and the headline is from the Euromaidan Press. Why we will cover the protests in Belarus is the headline of this article. Let me see. And then you have a poem to accompany it, right?
Right.
Okay, let me get this on screen too. Hang on. There we go. And where did I put the poem? Sorry for juggling all this stuff. Okay, so I have the poem. This is 4 Generations. Go ahead with this whenever you're ready.
My sisters link their arms, and all that's Belarus is in their faces. The fear, the resolve. She who remembers Stalin stands in her quiet steadfastness. She who is younger than the regime she protests stands, feet on the ground, elbows out, clenched fists. My mothers form a chain. She who was told to birth 2 for herself and a 3rd for her dictator, so easy. She who was told her optimal height to decorate the world. She who was told she'll crumble. But Auntie, aren't you scared? She laughs. Boy, I used to work in daycare. My grandmothers sneer at the tear gas, the batons, and the grenades. They scold, how dare you hit a woman? And I've lived here 4 generations. How dare you ruin my city, boy?
Excellent. Thanks so much for sharing that. It was 4 Generations. Thanks so much for adding that too. It's just really learning a lot on this episode. I'm really appreciating it. So thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, and once again, that was Leah Akori with 4 Generations. Let me see. Let me do Carlton Johnson's poem, see what Carlton had. I just got a message from Ron Lauterbach, who says he emailed a poem. Let me check my inbox. So Ron, yes, we got a bunch more. So let me read this from Carlton Johnson first. The reference, Carlton Johnson was writing about the Dyatlov Pass incident, another Russian thing. That's a famous story. Let me click on the article here. This is a famous sort of mystery. This back in the 60s or the 70s, 1959, a group of 9 young hikers were in the going through the Dyatlov Pass in Russia. Oops, don't let me pop up. Okay, and drop this out. And so they were missing, and their tent was found. A big mystery as to what happened to them. Like a lot of them some were found naked and sort of separated, and their tent was still there in pieces. No one really knew what happened. And this new scientific explanation is that there was a earthquake which triggered a sort of very small avalanche in one little area that just sort of overwhelmed their tent. And so they dug themselves out and then suffered hypothermia after that. And that sort of explains what happened in this mystery. And that's what Carlton was linking to here for his poem this week. And this is Death on Dead Mountain by Carlton Johnson. Let me get this there. Death on Dead Mountain by Carlton Johnson. There you go. Over half a century ago, 9 hikers perished near Dead Mountain. The irony escapes them even now. At the time, they were on a wondrous hiking expedition, but what was it that caused their demise? Was it an abominable snowman? A lost Yeti looking for a meal? Or perhaps aliens need some human samples? None of the far-fetched was the answer. Science did reveal the buried truth, the mundanity of snow, volumes of white falling, collapsing, their tent in the breath of a slab avalanche. Awoken by the roar of death, they ran in their stocking feet, mittened hands, some wearing long johns, but they could not escape hypothermia. The last breath on Dead Mountain curled into a mystery, lasting until today. And that was Death on Dead Mountain. And of course, the Dyatlov Pass story has inspired a lot of fiction and a lot of urban legends, those creepypastas, which are always fun to read. You're just imagining what happened to this group. It looked like their campsite was devastated by some kind of force. I think one theory I heard before was some kind of wind event, like line. What do they call it? Line squall or something, like a wind, sort of like a hurricane or tornado, basically ruined the camp and sent them fleeing. Other people thought maybe they ate some kind of psychedelics by accident that were bad and ran around destroying their own tents. No one really knew. And there's a story, a slab avalanche. So thanks for sharing that, Carlton. Let's call up Ron Lauterbach. Did we get everybody besides? So Paulette, let's see. Oh, Jennifer Gauthier too. I said I'd get Jennifer. Let's get Jennifer and then we'll get Ron. And then we'll do a Saiku and that'll be the end of the show. So let's call up Jennifer, though.
Hello.
Hey, Jennifer. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, Tim?
I'm great. Thanks so much for joining in again. What do you have for us this week?
So this is a poem that I wrote for the challenge for Tuesday. I just couldn't be there on Tuesday night about the tourist town and the off season. Do you have that one? I sent it last week for Tuesday, called "Where Have All the Tourists Gone?"
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Hang on. Here we go. Yeah.
Okay. And I was kind of similar to Paul, I guess. My husband was saying I write too many serious poems, so I wanted to try something a little more lighthearted this time. So we'll see.
Well, that's great. Okay, let me put it on screen. We'll put it in this document again. Okay. Where have all the tourists gone? Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Where have all the tourists gone? Where have all the tourists gone? The beach is empty, cold and gray. The crowds have left. I'm all alone, with only rain to fill my day. I scavenge for a meager crumb, while they sit warm and snug at home. The chip shop shut, the boardwalk still. The churning sea brings up its kelp. A stench so strong it makes me ill, and bits of sea life conk and whelk. I search in vain for something more, and dream of sunny days of yore, when tiny tots clutched biscuits high and ran with hot dogs in their fists. I'd grab a snack while soaring by. My favorite treat was salty crisps. The shouts and laughter, squeals and smiles, discarded food for miles and miles. But now I wander aimlessly through silent and deserted streets. My belly aches so terribly, drooping wings and weakened feet. Oh wait, what do I see ahead? A truck with trash cans in its bed.
That was great. That was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for sharing that, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me. Have a great week, Tim.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
It was Jennifer Gauthier with Where Have All the Tourists Gone? It was a prompt poem, but a fitting for Poet Respond Live too. Thanks, Jennifer. And let's see, Ron sent us a poem. Let me make sure, I just want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Okay, I think we got everybody. Excellent. So let's call up Ron Lauterbach. And I did get Ron's poem. This is The Afterlife, a letter to Donald J. Trump.
Hello.
Hey, Ron, how you doing this morning?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Let me see.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't have you turned off.
Oh, it's no problem. You good now?
Let's see. How do I turn you off?
I don't hear anything in my. But you're hearing.
Okay, I guess I'm okay.
Okay, well, if you can do it, go ahead. So what do you have for us? What poem? Uh-oh. Hang up. Let me try this over again.
Hello.
Hey, Ron. Let's see. So I hung up. For some reason, we dropped you for a second, but now we're back. You there?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, good. So what do you have for us today?
I've got a poem that it's a few weeks old, but it's a light verse, and it's an epistle type poem. I wrote.
Oh, we lost you again.
Are we here?
Yeah, you were there. I was just listening, then you stopped.
Well, it's an epistle poem I wrote a couple weeks ago about Donald Trump leaving the office.
Excellent. Well, let's hear it. I'll put it up on screen for everybody at home.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The Afterlife, a letter to Donald J. Trump. Dear Mr. President, I understand you have moved to Mar-a-Lago to live among admirers, but I'm saddened to hear the 21-gun military salute you planned for your D.C. departure became more like a single scout with a BB gun. You missed a celebration of the end of you, in which several celebrities participated, one being Garth Brooks, who sang Amazing Grace in a beautiful a cappella performance, during which you could have enjoyed a nap. I've Got Friends in Low Places is a Brooks song with which you more closely identify. You may golf anytime you get the urge, yet record only the strokes you cannot obscure. Residents will rise and applaud every time you enter a room, eat, or go to the bathroom. You can say anything to whomever and grab them by your choice of their parts. Employees will serve at your pleasure.
Hey, Ron, I'm sorry I'm going to cut you off. It's too... Oops. I didn't mean to hang up on him. I just meant to mute him. I'm sorry, Ron. I'm just going to read the rest because it was pretty choppy. So let me just read the whole thing. Dear Mr. President, I understand you have to move to Mar-a-Lago to live among admirers, but I am saddened to hear the 21-gun military salute you planned for your D.C. departure became more like a single Boy Scout with a BB gun. You missed the celebration of the end of you, in which several celebrities participated, one being Garth Brooks, who sang Amazing Grace in a beautiful a cappella performance, during which you would have enjoyed a nap. I've Got Friends in Low Places is a Brooks song with which you would more closely identify. You may golf any time you get the urge, yet record only the strokes you cannot obscure. Residents will rise and applaud every time you enter a room, eat, or go to the bathroom. You can say anything to whomever and grab them by your choice of their parts. Employees will serve at your pleasure, an emperor's thumb their fate. But you really should create what would have been in your immediate past, a cabinet-level position, a person dressed as a tiny Trump who will at your command scamper up the wall you build for protection from liberal Floridians, thrust a finger toward the sky and shout, "The plane! The plane!" Thank you for letting go, Ron Lauterbach. And that was Ron Lauterbach with The Afterlife, a letter to Donald J. Trump. Thanks so much for sharing that, Ron. Sorry that the audio ended up being too choppy and I couldn't. I don't think people at home could listen along anyway. So always happy to read it for you if the audio is not working out. But sorry to have to do that, and sorry to hang up on you. I just meant to mute you so you could hear what I was doing. But anyway, hopefully you caught that on the stream and know what's going on. For the haiku, we'll close off with. And always I like to end on a haiku to give me something to do. And I was looking this week. It's sort of not good news, really. Let me put this on screen too. This is from the University of Pittsburgh. And it's an article published February 3rd, let me put it up here, about how SARS-CoV-2 mutates to escape antibody binding. And basically, for the longest time, we've thought that coronaviruses have these sort of proofreaders, these error-checking mechanisms that keep them from mutating as fast as influenza does. And what these researchers have been looking at, they looked at a patient in Pittsburgh. This is at the Center for Vaccine Research at the University of Pittsburgh. So they had a patient there. They were looking at his the different mutations within this one patient way back in October or September, I think it was. And what they were finding is that even though there's this proofreading mechanism that keeps the mutations down, the proofreader doesn't have a problem with deletions. So it allows for in the RNA code, it allows for mutations where a nucleotide's dropped out, and so there's certain positions where you can drop a nucleotide out and change the shape of the spike protein and maybe avoid antibodies. So they're saying that even before these new strains came out, they were finding that the virus would be able to mutate and sort of evade our antibodies a little bit. We'd have to update the vaccines. But the good news is the vaccines are very easy to reproduce in different shapes and different codes. So they're easy to update. But we'll have to probably update and keep getting more vaccines as time goes on, because they're able to, there's these certain sites they're able to have deletions in the code. Anyway, it made me think of something I was doing just last week, and I'm not going to put it up on screen, but I have a plum tree out there, and it was overburdened with plums this year. And so my friend's an arborist, and he told me about this time around the New Year to how to read where to cut to strengthen the tree. And so this is my little haiku, which sort of has to do with that, inspired by that little science article. And here it is. Proofreading the plum tree for lines to cut. Proofreading the plum tree for lines to cut. That's my little haiku for today. Hope you enjoyed that. And hope you enjoyed the entire Poetry Spawn live show. It's been a pleasure as always. Got a lot of people in. I learned a lot. It was a great episode, actually, for teaching me, which is one of my favorite things. I mean, poetry is a way to learn more about the world. That's primarily how I think about it. So it's always a pleasure to be able to do that. Thanks to everybody who joined in and shared your slices of the world with us. I appreciate it. Now, let me remind you, the prompt for the Rattlecast this week is to write a poem using onomatopoeia, which are words imitating sounds. So use onomatopoeia in a poem. And that is your prompt for this week. And this week's guest on the Rattlecast is going to be 2020 Rattle Poetry Prize winner, the big $15,000 Allison Townsend, for Pantoum from the Window of the Room Where I Write was the winner of the Rattle Poetry Prize this year. She's also been a finalist before. We've published a whole bunch of poems over the years of Allison's that I just love. So I'm really looking forward to talking to her. Her most recent book is a book of essays, The Persistence of Rivers. She's also the author of The Blue Dress and Persephone in America. And we'll talk to her on Rattlecast number 79 for about an hour on Tuesday, February 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Then we'll have an open mic for any poems you'd like to share. So please join us then. I'll see you Tuesday. In the meantime, have a great rest of your Sunday. Good luck. Enjoy the Super Bowl if you like football. I'm rooting for the Chiefs because, as a Bills fan, I do not want Tom Brady to win again. So good luck. Go Chiefs. Have a great Sunday. Talk to you soon. Bye.